Clutch or kick.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is the first video in the Mod With Me series where I'll be showing you all how to utilize Portal from the very basics to more complicated functionality, including the spatial editor and logic editor. This is going to be a learning experience for me as well, so please bear with me with the slower pace of content. I do hope you find this series fun and beneficial, and really, I'd love to hear stories of you all giving Portal a go as a result of this type of content. With that being said, let's get into it. Alright, so today's video is going to be a basic introduction to Portal and modifying game modes with the pre-built modifiers provided by the Portal system. I obviously have some experience with the Portal system through Battlefield 2042, where I created several different game modes, but we also had several issues with Portal in 2042 and it never quite took off the way we had hoped. On that note, I do have a Discord server that I'll leave a link for in the description of the video, so feel free to join up and see what's going on over there. I plan to host a persistent server with various game modes cycling through it. The mode I create today will be actually the first experience that I'll host on my server, but I'll be happy to host various community created experiences as well. My hope is to build a community around the server itself so people can know that there will be a consistent place for them to find other players and play various game modes. I'll use a specific server title that I will display up on the screen right now, so it's easy for you all to find through the server search function. If this interests you, definitely use the link in the description and check it out. So here we are on the Battlefield Portal website, and we'll be selecting this Create New button. Immediately you'll see that there are two options to select from. The first being Portal Custom, which requires more advanced modifying, and we'll start covering that in the next video. The second tab is Verified Modes. As you can see, you've got the Battle Royale, you've got Breakthrough, Conquest, and Rush. And this is what we'll be focusing on today. Also, you can see that these modes allow for mutators and they give full progression. I actually saw a Reddit post the other day asking if there were any servers with a Battlefield 2 rule set for Conquest. I am a fan of more tactical and slower gameplay where you have to make some really important decisions and solid squad play really comes into play. So that's the type of experience that I want to create today. The first set of modifications you'll make is for the base game mode settings. You can manipulate the time it takes to neutralize and capture the objectives, modify the total game time available, the reinforcement, or simply put the ticket count multiplier, and the tickets per kill multiplier. Now you can already tell that some of these are really straightforward based on the title of the mutator, but some are not so easy to understand. In those instances, you have this information button, which generally does a pretty good job of explaining what the modifier does. That's how I figured out the reinforcement multiplier was basically the ticket count. Some things to note are that the objective neutralization and capture times cannot be set lower, which I assume is to prevent people from farming XP by setting the time to like 1 second to neutralize and capture, and prevents them from running around the map capping and neutralizing objectives within a single match and getting crazy XP for it. I won't be messing with any of these base settings for my mode, as I think the flag capture times are okay and the ticket and match times are fine as well. I could consider reducing the tickets per kill value to force more objective gameplay if I wanted to. You could even set this down to 0, so that way kills do not contribute at all to the actual ticket count, and then you have a truly objective based conquest. But I'm just going to leave mine at 100% for now. The next modifier is the map rotation. This is where you can leave out any maps that you think are not very good, and yes, I'm looking at you, New Sobek City. Or you can have a 24/7 server where you just have the same map 20 times in a row. I personally enjoy having a variety in the map pool, so I'll pick the maps I like and then arrange them in order to have different experiences right after each other. I like to mix based on the size of the map, if there's some that are like more heavy infantry versus heavy vehicle, and then even the aesthetics of the map. So I like to shuffle these up, and I'll do that now. I'll organize these in a way that I think is various enough for me. Next, let's take a look at some of the team settings. Here's where you can select if you want to include bots in your game. So as of recording this video, DICE has enabled bots again in verified portal modes. And the way they work is each game mode now supports up to 12 bots. So that would be 6 on each team. If you do choose to backfill with bots, your match will require 8 players to start, and there will be up to 6 bots on each team. If the bot backfill is disabled, the match will require 20 players to start. The bots also grant reduced XP while the player XP remains at 100%. If the bots are enabled, player stats will not see gains or losses such as hours played, your KDR, and total revives. And the challenges also remain completable with bots enabled in your match. This faction option is interesting because it makes me think that they are assuming they'll try to bring in more factions through the life of the game, and that'll be pretty cool. If you look at the maximum human player count here, as I modify that down, that is actually changing my maximum player count because again, it's not backfilling bots. So if I go down to 30 human players per team, my overall max player count goes down to 60. For my mode, I'm actually going to set this down to 56 total players because how fast-paced this game feels and how small the maps are. So I think maybe taking away 1 squad per team may help make the game feel a little bit better. So I'm going to try it with 56 players. There are also some soldier settings here that you can modify as well, which include friendly fire, the ability to revive squad mates, if you're not a medic, and the type of spawning you want to allow. For Battlefield 2 variant of Conquest, I will modify the squad spawn type to squad mates on leader and leader on all. This means that the squad mates are allowed to spawn on their squad leader, and the leader can spawn on any squad mate, but if the squad leader dies, that pretty much eliminates any chance for that squad to be able to spawn in, and then they have to go to an objective or spawn back on an owned objective, which, you know, right now I think in the base game, the squad leader doesn't really play any significant role, and this really increases that role that the squad leader plays and how he plays the game. So moving into the modifiers, this is where things can get pretty fun. For the gameplay section, there's a whole host of gameplay settings that can be modified. You can turn off aim assist, you could turn hardcore mode on, you can modify the projectile speed, you can change whether the whole magazine gets reloaded when you reload, and you can also turn off spotting. You get the idea. There's just a ton of stuff in here to really make the game mode unique and make it your own. So for this Battlefield 2 style variant, I will change a couple of things here. I'm going to go ahead and I'll go with the class lock weapons. I'm actually typically open to that. I don't really care for the class lock stuff, but to give it a more old school vibe, I will do the class lock weapons, and I'll turn on the reloading whole magazine setting. I think that would add to some potentially unique gameplay where you're going to depend on your support players a lot more. If you go down a little bit, you'll see that you're also able to disable third-person view for vehicles, and then also passenger seats. I think disabling third-person view for the vehicles could also be an interesting add-on to give it a more old school vibe or just more authentic or more realistic type of vibe. So I'll go ahead and disable the third-person view here. Now under the soldier modifiers, you can enable or disable the various movements and stances like sprinting, proning, and crouching. You can also turn off health regen and change what kind of down state players go into. You could turn off the down state entirely if you wanted, or you could allow down players to crawl. For this custom mode, I'm going to turn off the soldier health regen. I'm hoping that support players recognize their importance in keeping their teammates alive here and just increases that squad play. I'm going to turn off sliding, but I'll be honest, I'm kind of mixed about that. I mean, I don't really mind it. I don't think it's that aggressive in Battlefield 6, but just to stay with the old school vibe, to give it that slower pace and slower feel, I'll turn it off and see how it goes. The nice thing is you can always go back in and change these settings up. Even after you've created your experience, you can go back and toggle things on and off or change any value you want. Under the vehicle tab, you can change if players are allowed to exit the vehicles once they're in it, and the health regen. You can also modify the maximum vehicle health. I'm just going to leave that to 100%, but I will turn off the health regen option here. So players have to depend on the engineers on their team or on their squad to keep their vehicles up and running. In the UI settings, you can modify basically what kind of identification and HUD elements are available to the players, such as their minimap, compass, and crosshair. I don't really think I'm going to change any of these settings for this mode. I think everything here seems like I would want to keep it for my game mode. Okay, now we'll get into the restrictions. This is where you can enable or disable specific soldier classes, weapons, vehicles, or gadgets. These options are so great for handling any kind of exploits or any unbalanced weapons in the game. I know currently there is an issue with the laser designator and the IFV being able to shoot air vehicles down at will without any real counters. There's also an exploit where you can use a drone and sledgehammer to fly up and get into unintended areas. So I could disable the IFV, but I think it makes more sense to just disable the laser designator. And I could also disable the hammer or the recon drone depending which way I want to go, but I think the recon drone just provides more value for a team, so I'll just get rid of the hammer since there are other alternative melee weapons available. So again, these restrictions are a great way to eliminate any game-breaking exploits and unbalanced weapons. Okay, now here's the last step. Once you're in the Publish tab, you'll enter a new name and description for your experience. I'll call this something like Old School Battlefield Conquest Experience, and for my description, I'll consider listing out all of the main modifiers and restrictions, so that way anybody going into that experience or looking at that experience understands what the experience is about and what they're getting themselves into when they join it. So I'll show here what maps I removed, which is New Sobek City. I'll list out some of the modifiers, so showing class locked weapons, no health regen, no slide, no vehicle health regen, and then throwaway magazine on reload. And then I'll list out restrictions that I've taken away the laser designator, and I'll explain that that's for the exploit. And then also no sledgehammer, and again I'll put in exploit here. I guess this tags function isn't working because I can't figure out how to add any tags here. In the next step, you can select the image that you want to represent this game mode. So they've got several images, and you might want to pick one that you think represents it best. And then in the last step, you can just review and save your experience. By the way, at any time in your editing of this experience, you can select the save icon on the top right of the page, and it will save your experience, allowing you to pick up, where you left off if you weren't able to finish it. So now that you've created the experience, it shows up in your unpublished experiences tab. And in order for you to get a shareable code so that other people can look for that experience, or that you can look for that experience, you need to actually go through and publish your experience. So here you'll just follow the steps to publish the experience here. Once you've published the experience, how do you actually go and host a server? If you don't publish the experience, when you go to the Battlefield 6 menus, you go to the community tab and you look under my experiences, you won't see your experience because you haven't actually published it. So that's why you need to be able to publish it as well. And you can see Obviously, you could search for it, but you don't have a code yet, right? If you haven't published. So that's the importance of publishing your experience. So now that you've got your experience published, how do you actually go and host a server? Within Battlefield 6, you'll want to go to the Community tab and select My Experiences. Here, you should see the various experiences that you've created, and you can select the experience and select Host at the bottom of the page. Once you're in the host, you're able to modify the server name and the description and all that stuff that you saved in previously, which is great because you may want to add something like full XP in your title, right? Just so you know, so other people see that it's a full XP server. Or you can keep a consistent name so that way people know how to find that server again. You also have, if you go down to server settings, you can also include a welcome message. Let's say you have a Discord and you want to promote that Discord, or you want people to join it. You can, put a message in there that has your Discord link or something like that. You can also add periodic messages, which will continuously come up through the match at random durations. You could add a password. That way, if you just want friends only in the server, you can share a password with them and they can jump in that way, and other random people can't show up into your server. And then lastly, you have this persistent server toggle. So if you want your server to stay up while you leave, or if you're not in that server, you want to go ahead and leave this on. Otherwise, when you leave, the entire server will shut down. And then lastly, you just select this host button. And as you can see, I'm in my mode that I've created. You can see that I cannot slide. I'm trying to slide here, but it won't let me because I have that modifier. You can also see here, I cannot regen my health, right? So the server worked out the way I've intended for it to. Alright guys, that wraps up the very basic introductory video into Portal. I showed you guys how you can go into Portal and within 10 to 15 minutes have an experience catered to how you like to play the game. If you've been hesitant about going into Portal or thinking it would be too difficult to make your own experience, I hope I've been able to show you and encourage you to give it a go for yourself. Thank you all for stopping by and checking out this video. In the next one, we'll be taking an initial stab at the custom Portal editor and spatial editor in the Godot gaming engine. If that interests you, please consider subscribing so you can stay tuned to more Battlefield 6 content and Portal content. And with that, I'm out. Peace.
First placing.